Our Chapter 7 survey. We'll go back to practical pipeline guide, pipeline construction inspectors. We are on page 25, I believe. Survey. Survey and take all pipe of the pipeline construction and refer to the installation visual reference of the points with the markers, stake pins, laps, hubs with that with the define of the right of way with the limited guide with the construction over the pipeline. That's for the prudency for the corner for the issue with the construction and drawings. The reference for the also made with the safe limit of the right of way work areas. If the area with the proof of the pipeline route with the forecast of the contract structure survey, they commonly first arrive with the flag. Tree with the cleaning contract with the king cut with the down with the shop with the right of way with the pipeline construct for the inspector with the technical liaison survey the information between the construction manager, chief inspector with the designated with the survey contractor on other site contractors' input. As part of preparing inspection during the survey process for the inspector, continually familiarizes themselves with the relevant aspect of the key document, the drawing with the owner of the company technical specification identified in table 14. 7.3 Execution. The work is being executed. The inspector required with the monitor of the workmanship report of the product with the periodic base with the typical inspection of the inspector's manager with the during the survey process identified with the shear with the checklist detail in table 13. And then it shows the table 13. Prior commencing with the work on a daily basis to ensure the key activities identified with the detail of the dress and dress safety, monitor of the operation of the right hearing with the relay, relevant the owner and company project safety requirement, environmental consideration, identify specifically should be monitored throughout the surveying operation, specifically owner or company the project specific environmental protection plan, general, identify the general items that should be monitored throughout the construction survey process, buried facility location, identify specifically survey items that should be monitored with the buried facility with the location, right of way, identify specifically survey items that should be monitored with the right of way of the boundary, ditch line, identify specific survey that should be monitored along with the ditch line, crossing, identify specific survey that should be monitored around crossing location, prudencies, identify specific survey that should be monitored prudency location, as built, identify specific information should be monitored during collection of the completing as built, pilings, identify specifically survey items that should be monitored but for piling locations, caliper pegging, identify specific survey that should be monitored with the support of the caliper pig runs, 7.4 Output, the inspector required report with workmanship progress with a periodic basis by complying with the various reports on each workday at the end of the week, each week. Reporting requirements of the reporting process for the owner, company with the project, and specifically however the best practice for the reporting requirements of survey inspection appear on table 27. Detailed checklist of the 7.5 to 10 technical input requirement survey inspection table 14 information requirement of survey inspection description all design drawings specification detail developed by the owner and company contractor related to surveying such as access roadways line lists issue construction drawings contract agreements related to road use crossing of the buried facility construction survey the landowner agreement the third party crossing agreement permits related to environmental road use and third party crossing permits of other companies specific safety plan included but not limited to traffic control plan the requirements of the personal protective equipment, emergency medical services, project environmental protection plan, detailed survey requiring the following, but not limited to water crossing courses, wetlands, musky, swamp areas, wildlife habitat, migratory routes, other project specific plans, which include fire prevention and firefighting plan and survey plans. Alright, table 15, commencing work. Participate in the daily meeting addressing the job safety hazard and identification of the environmental concern. Duty of the inspector pipeline contractor's tailgate meeting is required. An ad hoc meeting of the contractor to discover and to clarify the concern of the conform survey to credentials, qualification per owner, company requirement to review all the drawings and with the survey to ensure that no facility features are overlooked within the current project and drawings and ensure that every contractor has search and legal plan with the type of the typical title of the registered encumbrance of such right of way with an easement, the restriction or patented the under management of the crown or government and some of the instances of the down and patented land along with the right of way. Ensure survey contactor that has contacted one call 811 the call with the landowners all buried overhead facilities prior to executing survey activities. Verify the survey priorities chief of the possess of the copy of the survey requirement to have the proper immaterial equipment to perform the work as per survey contract. Ensure the survey equipment is calibrated, calibrations are current. Ensure the survey has set up the equipment to for the owner's company name and convention. Table 16, safety concern surveying. Ensure the contractor encroachment and not encroachment over the construction equipment. The survey work area, the review the acceptable work alone policy for the survey contractor. Ensure all the personnel are trained in handling tree felling activities, including chainsaw usage. Ensure all personnel have certification on all terrain vehicles and skidos. Table 17, the typical monitoring requirements of environmental consideration of the environmental inspector for the construction man, chief of the inspector performing the construction of the taking the making the proposed light pipelines, equipment and feature of the required for the construction operators, consistent material, environmental, ecological sites. Table 18, typical monitoring requirements generally ensure the survey monuments does not impede the construction flow, ensure the survey that perceive the occurrence with the construction, track requirements of owner company provided work plans, other confirm with the construction survey, continue uploading all construction drawings with red pens, line drawings, ensure compliance with the operation of the road right of way, and approve the access roads outlined with the right of way line list for the and directed by the authorized land agent, ensure all the legal survey monuments that are not disturbed, defaced, altered, destroyed, removed. Ensure all the damage of obliteration of any survey reference are reported to the owner, accompanied with the process of the tree with the safety concern. Ensure the contract survey only person is reestablishing obliterated, missing, damaged survey stakes, markings, and flags. Confirm all stakes and flags remain visible and during intended use. Confirm the construction surveys are clearly staked in for underground facilities. Ensure the construction survey can collect all data, mill test reports for pipes as well as valves and fittings, main plates to ensure the construction survey has created the final survey drawing with a hydrostatic testing process. Ensure the construction survey has assigned the detail and dated final survey drawings. Alright, Table 19, typical monitoring requirements, buried facility, location, construction, and consult with the owner, company with the site, with a representative of the owner, survey the operator's specific knowledge of the facility being excavated with the help of the construction survey, with the locate the facility existing in a bank with incomplete, unavailable documentation, consult landowner, if applicable, with surveyor to determine if the landowner is unaware of the additional buried facilities, water lines, electrical cable, the private gas lines, ensure personal locating buried facility with the trained with the recognized locating program using and accepted the procedure technique, confirm all line locating equipment that have within current calibration certificates, ensure the construction survey identified with the document any with the facility that's shown on the drawing cannot be located, confirm all buried facility with the third pipeline with the cable have located, identify the type of the pipe, diameter, pipe coating, the year, install with the adequate depth of the cover as are staked and accurately should be angular deflections, ensure that there is no chance of disturbing the facility during pipeline construction, confirm all third-party pipeline utility crossings and central line new and third-party pipelines are staked with the surveyor specified with the alignment sheets, ensure the point of crossing between the proposed center line with the new pipeline existing facilities marked with the cross lath and stakes of the owner company, specifically color codes showing the name of the owner of the company with the facility size, ensure offset with the requirements of the engineering cross agreements are staked and clearly labeled. The clear form buffer stakes placed on third-party facilities are inspected newly. Facilities table 20, typical monitoring requirements right of way. Ensure the surveyor contact will advise that the stake for the marks need to be reestablished. Ensure the surveyor is taking the per own company with specific color code to obtain approval through the construction manager, chief of the inspector, designate additional color codes are required. Monitoring ongoing basis for the all stake for the markers of the collected with the contractor after the selection work has been completed. Ensure safety of staking pipeline route valves and prudencies shown in the drawing. Ensure the surveys have correctly labeled all the stake of the visibility work site of the work of the area of the right of way, conform to the boundary of the work right of way. Temporary workspace is staked with the per survey specification. Ensure surveys are using frost pins similar to the tools hard and frozen ground. We use securing survey markers. Ensure taller stakes are installed with a higher crop of snow used to ensure visibility with a hub stake with the means of the stake and the resistance being down and use the livestock pastures. Ensure water coursing of the crossing with appropriate reprend zone interface between land and river and stream buffer that's starting with the top of the bank unless the otherwise shown on the drawing. Ensure progress take placed along the edge of the right of way or TWS specified intervals invisibly on the work side within the area. Ensure flag is placed on the frequently heavier vegetated trees in the area provided better visibility clearing equipment operators. Alright, table 21, typical monitoring requirements of ditch line. Ensure for the center line with the proposed pipeline ditch is used with the site ditch staked with the specified intervals except as bend for the crossing with the intervals will be more frequently. Ensure for the survey breakdown with the down with the larger annual bend with the point of the intersection series with the smaller bends with the PI with the point of the intersection angle exceed the bending with the specification done to ensure the bends of hits to the right of way. Ensure angle degrees, minutes, and second of deflection are all recorded with the pipeline deflection points. Ensure surveys with the change of the site should number this image line with the measured distance corresponding with the center line with the example of the pipe of the fence. For example, in Cadia, use metric chainage 3 digits and 1 decimal point. U.S. Imperial Station 110,000 feet would be 10 plus 00. Documentation, information, cross instruction manual, chief of the inspector of any major deviation necessary chainage and station equations. Alright, Table 22, typical monitoring requirements of crossing. Ensure activity coordinated with the owner of the copy as well as third-party facility owners with the 1-call, 811 call. Ensure the surveyors measuring the contour chain with all the ditch line actuating terrain, including crossing to be bored and horizontally directly drilled. Ensure all features offset with the design crossing stake accordingly with the construction drawing. Confirm the stacking of the entry with the existing points of the drill and bore with ensure the location respective to the workplace and are marked and consistent with the drawings. Ensure temporary bench marks are placed at the work site of the right away of the location, minimal disturbance showing the elevation of the reference for the cross-drawing. Temporary benchmarks could be set on each of the side of the right-of-way in the case of the disturbance. Conform all the typical crossing cadastral boundaries, legal and land ownership limits crossed typically are staked to show the relative disposition labeled with the owner of the company as well as the pipeline type and size. Ensure offset of the requirements for the engineering cross agreements are staked and clearly labeled. Confirm construction. Surveys are all crossings have complete with the field stakeout reports containing field sketches showing with all the buried in facilities relation to the new and existing right-of-way boundaries. List of the line locating equipment. Use the name of the survey's date, the location, local area condition corresponding to all visual inspection note. All drawings reference signature construction survey contractor data on all reports. Table 23, typical monitoring requirements of Prudencies. Ensure all Prudencies are stacked, showing the stop of the start and the end location, reporting any change location, spacing, and quantity with the construction manager, chief, inspector designee. Table 24, typical monitoring requirements as built. Meet the surveyor of the daily identified area of the is requiring as built data. Ensure the construction survey is collecting as data built data continually during the construction and are not impeding with the progress of the contractor. Ensure that once below ground has been collected, construction surveys have been staked to the location, note the start and end changes of the station as built, the data collection. Table 25, the typical monitoring requirements of the pilings. Ensure the contractor survey with conjunction with the contractor have identified all the pilings. Ensure the constructor survey in conjunction with the contractor have marked all the piles using iron spike with wood and laths labeled with the pile numbers. Ensure the constructor survey the conjunction contractor with the collecting elevation data with the pile cut off with the grading of the pile of the daylight act uncovering exposing buried utilities holes references and site data as shown in the construction plan. Table 27, the typical monitoring requirements of the caliper pigging. Ensure construction surveys have produced the complete data set containing all weld bend information before and any caliper runs. As the construction survey locate stake and identifications along the pipeline based on caliper run results. Alright, 7.7, typical output survey inspection. Table 27, the typical reporting requirements that use the red line drawings completely check with the construction manager, chief inspector, other as in accordance with the survey plan. Daily complete survey progress reports, including water, were completed in date, start and end chainage, station number to complete start, and red line drawings identified with the bill is required. Pipeline detail requirements should be included. Survey contractor scope, survey support, sketch of the data to explain as built required records were required. Survey say report documentation of the RFI request for information. References survey. Note the use of the reference information provided with the table 28 is intended with the guide only with the list for the non-exhaustive documents of the nature updated frequently and remain the responsible for the user to ensure the correct and most current of the documents or references appropriate. We have API or recommended practice 1102 with the steel pipeline crossing railroad highways, common ground and alliance best practices, INGA Foundation guidelines, guideline document, construction natural gas pipeline construction guidelines, construction safety consensus, overhead utilities, CSS 8. Alright, Chapter 8, clearing and grading.